We see a man standing in a field while being recorded. Then a lady uncovers a table of weapons. Shortly after, lights turn on and a long covering across the field falls. An arrow flies near the man, causing him to jump over the table and have it flip over to cover him. An arrow then shoots through it, which prompts him to test further arrow shots by sticking his hand out. But that quickly gets him in trouble when an arrow plunges into his chest. He yells in pain and uses the huge scissors to cut most of it off. Then he takes a knife and runs at his attacker. He tackles him and applies the knife to end him. We then see that he has ended someone who looks like him. A lady congratulates him and asks if he is the original or the double. He answers he is the double. She then concludes by saying he is now Robert Michaels. The scene changes to a girl ordering food from a drive-thru. Then she goes home and starts watching a movie. Soon after, someone calls her and she answers on video. We see it is a man that she talks to with somewhat bad reception. She tells him that she misses him before ending the call and continuing with her movie. Then the girl, Sarah, eats at a restaurant with her mother. She makes her daughter spit her food into a cup so she could talk to her. Afterward, she shows Sarah's penny collection. When the mother asks her questions that make her uncomfortable, Sarah starts putting pennies in her mouth. Then they cascade from there by the dozens. After that, her mother says goodbye to Sarah. The girl then wakes up in bed with blood near. She showers to wash it off and changes the bed covers. Then she is at the emergency room. She tells the receptionist that it's not an emergency, but then she vomits right away. After that, she lies in a bed there and then sits in a wheelchair. At night, Sarah talks to her boyfriend, Peter, on video again. She tells him she will sleep soon and ends the call. Later, the doctor says she is sending her home. She adds that there is something serious inside Sarah and she needs to rest when she gets home. The doctor also advises her not to drink alcohol. We then see Sarah at home as she drinks from a bottle. Then she and Peter exchange messages. On the next day, she goes to the gym and calls Peter when she's home. She tells him she's full of energy, but he looks full of doubt. He then informs her that her doctor left a long voicemail on his phone, stating that Sarah has a terminal illness. The next scene has Sarah talking to her doctor. The doctor tells her she has an incurable disease in her stomach. She adds that it is painless, but will certainly take her life. After Sarah takes the negative information quite well, her doctor congratulates her for it. She then changes the topic to what kind of funeral Sarah might want to have. After a while of the doctor talking, Sarah picks to be cremated. Before she leaves, the doctor offers Sarah the option of getting cloned so her loved ones don't suffer from losing her. But she informs her that for some families it is a negative experience. At home, Sarah looks at the replacement pamphlet and then starts watching a video about it. She witnesses how her double would have to learn about her behaviors to become as much like her as possible. Then the host of the video reveals himself to be a double himself, living as a man named Tom for almost 12 years. After the video, Sarah calls the replacement agency. While she drives there, she finally starts crying. She then sits there and fills out the forms. And after that, she tells a man she can't afford it. However, the man tells her about a payment plan and that her double will acquire all of her responsibilities, including paying off the procedure. He then tells her all she has to do is spit in a tube and the process will take 1 hour. A while later, Sarah meets her double. The man tells her she acquired blue eyes instead of Sarah's brown eyes. Then as they ride together, Sarah informs her double about what food she likes. After that, she tells her about her musical tastes. When they enter Sarah's home, Sarah tells her about Peter. The double looks at him in the picture and places it face down. Sarah then corrects it without saying anything. In the bedroom, the double finds herself to be a size smaller than Sarah and states she wants another style. This seems to bring some displeasure to Sarah. Then 10 months have gone by. Sarah watches her double with Peter. When she tells them she has a doctor's appointment tomorrow, they just start leaving without comforting her. But before Sarah's double leaves, she tells Sarah she will get intimate with Peter when they come back. At the appointment, the doctor tells Sarah that her body went into remission and she's not going to lose her life. She follows that by telling Sarah to have her double decommissioned. Afterward, Sarah drives her car and screams in frustration. When she comes home, she sees her mother there with Peter and her double. Her mother is confused, but Sarah explains the situation to her. Then her mother asks her how much longer she has left to live, and Sarah spills the news that she is not losing her life. Then she gets angry at her double and Peter takes Sarah outside. She starts kissing him there, but he doesn't want to engage in it. He then tells her it's not that simple to go back. Then he adds it's little things about the double that he likes. When Sarah tells him she could do those things as well, he starts telling her about her bad traits. Furthermore, he says that even if he can't be with the double, he doesn't want to be with Sarah. After telling him that she loves him, Peter says he does not love her anymore. He then returns to the house and locks the door on Sarah. Afterward, Sarah gets frustrated and yells an insult to her double and Peter from outside. At some other time, Sarah gets a call from her double's representative. She tells Sarah that her double has exercised her right to stay. This prompts Sarah to visit a legal worker. He tells her about the right to stay and that she has 2 days to move out. And that in 1 year there will be a duel between Sarah and her double to determine who will live out her life. At home, we see Sarah packing her belongings. Peter tells her she could take anything she wants. Then he starts talking to her double on video. The double insults Sarah while Sarah is there to hear it. Following that, Sarah searches the internet for combat training. She then appears there shortly after. The trainer asks her if she wants to live. She says that she does, but he doesn't believe her. Then he asks her if she's prepared to take someone's life. She gives a positive to that and he believes her this time. What follows is the two of them engaging in various strenuous movements. Sarah has to lie down after using the treadmill. While she's there, her trainer places a CD on her and says to watch it tonight. At her place, she starts watching the CD. The video shows a lady that horrifically ends her husband. From the way Sarah grabs the remote, it is uncertain if she finished the video. On the next day, she brings it back to the trainer and states she watched it. After that, he starts preparing Sarah for combat by having her look at a figure with a mirror placed in the place of its head. The trainer then starts going over the basics of the duel. He says there will be a table with 5 weapons on it. Then at home, Sarah practices twirling her knife. Then she spends some time at a dance class. Then her trainer, Trent, shows her pictures on a projector of lifeless people. Sarah guesses as to what happened to them and only gets the last one incorrect. Trent then tells her he set up a field trip for her next week. After that, Sarah goes someplace and knocks on a door there. A lady opens it and Sarah tells the lady that Trent sent her. She brings Sarah inside and uncovers a lifeless body for her to look at. Then she starts opening it and Sarah watches the grisly details to prepare her mind for combat. Following that, Trent and Sarah practice fighting with their available weapons. As they go through various ones, they act out the damage each impinges upon them. Sarah then ends up winning the practice fight. When it's done, Trent tells her she is strong physically and mentally. The next scene has Sarah shopping for clothes. She asks a worker there that she needs an outfit she can lose her life while wearing. At her home, she gets a call telling her the duel has been postponed for 1 more month. The man tells her she will have to keep paying support to her double for that long. But Sarah tells him she spent all her money. Later, she meets Peter at a restaurant. He apologizes to her about how things ended between them, and she tells him she will try to end her double. He is understanding of it and they start ordering food. Then she calls Trent and says she wants to keep training because the duel has been postponed. When she enters his place, Sarah asks if other payment options still apply, since she is out of money. Shortly after, we see her teaching Trent to dance. He thanks her after that and they resume their training. On this day, he brought his dog with him and tells Sarah to grab a crossbow. When she does, he tells her to shoot his dog. She questions such an action and Trent states his dog is old and sick. But she still does not want to do it. Even after he tells her that it will be better for the dog, Sarah cannot go through with the action. He tells her he is disappointed with her killer instinct. After that, Sarah observes her double standing outside and spying on her. This prompts her to aim the crossbow in her direction and shoot through the window. She goes outside and sees she hit and ended a dog instead. She apologizes to the people there and starts chasing after her double. She gets to an area where twin little girls reside and one of them asks her if Sarah lost her twin. Sarah states that she did and the girl helps bring her to her double. She brings Sarah to a small house and the girl talks to the double. She starts telling a story that implies her twin sister is actually her double as well. When the little girls leave, Sarah talks to her double behind the building and says it was instinctual for her to have done what she did. Her double then unlocks the door and Sarah sits inside. They speak about how Sarah had her life stolen. And the double says it's her life too, it's not any less real. Then she starts talking about the negatives of being with Peter and her mother. But Sarah says it's her life now and that she moved on and is making a new one. With that, the double tells her she wants to take Sarah somewhere. In the next scene, they enter a support group. They listen to a man talking about having ended his double in a duel. He talks about how horrible it is to have engaged in such a fight, and he concludes by questioning what the point of fighting was if this is the life he has to continue with. After that, Sarah stands and tells her double she made a nice attempt to bring her here, but she still intends to bring her to her demise. The group leader then introduces a new project to the members. They have to compose a letter to their double or original by using their non-dominant hand. After the writing, we see one man read his letter. He is the double and in his letter, he expresses his disappointment with being forced to live with the people the original lived with. When Sarah's double volunteers to read, we do not get to hear it. Then outside the group, Sarah tells her that she liked her letter, stating that it brought sense into the whole situation. Then she questions why can't they just both live. Later, Sarah picks her double up and they ride someplace in her car. During the ride, the double talks about the seeming ease of driving without knowing how to do it. Then they stop where they intended to travel. Sarah and her go over a checklist of the items they will need while there. The double then takes out 2 bottles of water and they both drink before entering the woods. As they walk there, Sarah almost falls and the double takes her hand to save her. Sarah talks about how sometimes there are no shows at the duel, but there was never a case where both the original and the double are like that. Then Sarah states how thankful she is that her double found her, but the double turns around and sees blood coming from Sarah's mouth. After that, we observe the duel is about to begin in the field. The lady official stands and looks at her watch. She then sees someone coming toward her with a limp. The girl states she is Sarah and she tells the lady she is late because she mistook the wheel of the car for the pedal that stops it. This blatant confusion about driving implies it is Sarah's double, and that she lied. She then tells the lady that her double probably decided to flee. While the lady goes to deal with the situation, the double sees her mother and Peter in the audience. Following that, we see investigators dealing with the double. They search the woods, but nothing is found. Later, in a courtroom, the judge asks Peter if the girl is the original Sarah. He says that it is, and then Sarah's mother confirms the same. He lastly asks the double if she is Sarah, and she lies that she is. At her home, she looks at herself in the mirror and tells Peter she acquired wrinkles and sunspots, and Peter asks her if he should pick up some hair dye, but she tells him that she will. Then he mentions making a payment on the replacement loan. After that, her phone rings and Peter asks if she will answer it. The double states that it's her mother, not his. And then we hear her mother's message while the girl gets into her damaged car and starts driving it. As she drives, she starts crying. She cries to the point of stopping and forcing those behind her to honk their horns. From an overhead view, we see she made a slight obstruction on the roundabout.